afternoon, or whenever you're listening to this. Welcome again to another episode of the Breakthrough Real Estate Investing Podcast. And here with me, as usual, is Sandy McKay.
Hey, Rob.
Good morning.
Good morning, afternoon. I don't know. Whatever it is for you. Sometimes we're different now with the time zones, but yeah, let's go. I'm excited.
Right now, as we're recording, it is morning, and I'm 2 hours behind you. And I was just commenting on how quickly the interview comes up on these days. So it's like I gotta get my kids ready. I gotta get them, something to do and somewhere to go so that it's quiet here, and clean up, get everything ready because it's on video. I don't know why. What are we doing with the videos of this right now?
They're all over the place, man. You're not following enough. You obviously got to go subscribe and like and follow our YouTube channel, and
that's right.
And certainly our social media feeds to catch up on some of these clips.
Absolutely. And of course, go over to our website, breakthroughreipodcast.ca. You can download and listen to all the shows and communicate with all the guests that we've had on over the past, 175 episodes or something like that now. And you can get a free gift.
Yeah, the ultimate strategy for building wealth through real estate, and you will get that when you go subscribe to our channel. And you know what? If people haven't gone on our website recently, and I think we'll be close to there by the time this episode comes out, it's getting revamped, so there'll be a few new and exciting things on there too. So people should certainly go check all that we have on the website and subscribe so that they never miss out.
Yeah, and we'll talk more about that probably next show.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, yeah, next show.
And go over to iTunes and rate and review the show. That always helps get us out there to as many people as possible who are looking for this kind of information. Leave us a review. Let us know what kind of topics you'd want to hear on the show. Maybe some guest recommendations and whatever else you think that we should be doing. So that would be very, very helpful. Go over there on iTunes and leave us a rating and review. What's new, Sandy? What's happening with you?
Lots of exciting things into the fall of this year, 2022, that we're working on. So I'm gonna have a few call them announcements sort of things on some new endeavors, and so I've been kind of navigating that. And part of that is some new things with our shows here and the podcasts, and bringing in some more collaborators, and kind of revamping our investment strategy too, for myself personally, because we've done a whole bunch of the BRRRR strategy models, and primarily still sticking with that, although we're just transitioning to doing some bigger investments. And I haven't done a lot of the 2 to 4 units for a while. I've kind of taken getting close to a year break. We've been finishing up some projects, but we haven't done any new ones for a while. And partially because we're focusing on some bigger stuff. Less transactions, more units generally. And we're navigating the crazy market of 2022, right? Which has been not without some downs for the first time in a while, which has been interesting. And I'm raving to anybody that will listen and pay attention that it's probably the best buying opportunity that we might see in a while. If it's probably maybe the best one, that will come around again. Because we have a window here in summer, probably into fall, maybe into 2023 even, where the rates are scaring people away and the prices are down. Cannot see how that possibly is going to stay for too much longer. For simple supply and demand, without getting into too many details, simple supply and demand will eventually come back around, and we'll be sitting here saying we told you so again. Best time to buy real estate was yesterday, and next best time was 20 years ago. This is, there'll be that 20 years could make itself up pretty fast here in the next couple of years if we're not if we don't just continue to take action. You don't want to miss out on this type of
Well, I thought the best time to buy was today, but
what did I say?
Yesterday?
Today is always good too.
Yeah, today's good. So people, and we're going to probably get into that a little bit more as well during the interview with Dan McMullen, who we're pretty happy to have on here today. And thanks for taking the time to come out and talk to us.
Yeah, awesome to be here. Thank you.
Super happy to have you here, Dan. Yeah, and I'll give a brief intro for you for our listeners. Dan lives in Brooklin, Ontario, which is just a little north of Whitby, Durham region, and lives there with his wife and 3 kids. He's a high school phys-ed teacher in Markham, and he started his real estate journey 3 years ago, investing in the Peterborough area, and also, which is southern Ontario, I suppose. Peterborough is still southern Ontario, right? Yeah. And his main strategy is long-term buy and hold with focus on student rentals and duplexes. Also, interestingly enough, utilizing the infinite banking strategy, which we've talked about many times on our show, and our great connection there with Ascendant Financial. And so you've been using the infinite banking strategy and whole life insurance policies to also in your investment strategy. So we'll probably touch on that a bit. And You're also the host of a monthly mastermind group called the Cashflow Crew. And so we'll learn a bit more about what that's all about too. And excited to have you on the show, and looking forward to learning more about your journey.
Excited to be here, and certainly have lots to share, and here we go.
Yeah, I've been on that webcast. It was super fun, and I'm sure we're going to talk about that a little bit more. Good group of people.
Rob, it's been great having you come on there. Sandy, we'd love to get you on. It's just a small group. I'm trying to scale it out a little bit, make it a little more professional. But the idea is we have monthly meetings where we bring on sort of great guests who have lots to share, and just sort of teach us about what they have going on in their own life, and we can collaborate with like-minded individuals via Zoom right now. We've kind of continuing the sort of the pandemic trend of doing things over Zoom, and it's been fairly successful so far.
Yeah, that's awesome. And like I said, good group of people that you have, and I'm sure that it will expand. So, let's just start out like this. It doesn't have to be 100% real estate related, but let's hear about a little bit about you and how you got started in real estate investing.
Yeah. So, high school phys-ed teacher, family guy, sort of, just working the 9 to 5. I think the real big turning point when it comes to the real estate journey, maybe it's something to do with turning 40, but, you approach 40, and I certainly was like, okay, you always feel like you should be getting ahead. You always have this sort of vision that you're going to get ahead as you get further along into your career, that your savings will increase or everything will just get better financially. And I just started thinking to myself, like, okay, you have 3 kids. I'm fairly successful in my career. I've maxed out as a teacher salary, and I feel like I'm spinning my wheels. So, you start to look around and you see these bigger homes, or you see people living differently. So then you start to become curious on, okay, what are people doing in order to, achieve or have a different sort of outlook on money? So I started, just digging in, doing a little bit of research, just sort of asking people, hey, what are you up to these days? And I came across a good friend, Scott, who, Rob, you know him, who had 6 investment properties at the time. And so we were just casually talking, and he said, I have 6 rental properties. I said, no way. I'm really interested in also potentially getting a rental property. So funny enough, and here's a plug for you guys, he said, hey, check out this podcast. And he threw the Breakthrough podcast to me. I'm very new to podcasting at that time. And that was in 2019, May of 2019. And I started listening to your podcast. So that's really where sort of the why and the where it all started.
That's awesome. Yeah, thanks for that. It's nice to hear those stories that we've been able to help somebody get started anyways, and like expose a little bit more of real estate beginners to get them moving and take action. Because it wasn't long before you took action, right?
It was we bought in August. So it was May to August. Like I was ready to rock, ready to go. And I think, when people are ready. I'm sure both of you see your clients and you know when they're ready to take action. And I was certainly ready. And the cool thing about, and the importance of podcasts and the importance of what you guys are doing is you allow people like me to borrow your confidence. And I really like that expression, borrowing someone's confidence. And it's just, you don't feel confident in doing, buying an investment property, it's a real daunting, scary thing if you don't have that knowledge. But if you can start listening to podcasts, you can start networking, start creating a power team, you're borrowing everybody's confidence in order to take action. And I think downloading free podcasts are just such a simple way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, super cool. I love that outlook, perspective, and I'd love to know how you were able to take action so fast too, because that is, May to August, we're talking about 3-4 months. Did you had a build up of stuff before that where you were getting knowledge or getting confidence in some other way?
Honestly,
or is our show that powerful? That
I literally,
yeah.
I literally just, it sounds so simple, but I was a copycat. So, I kind of got myself right beside my buddy Scott, and I connected with Rob very, very quickly, and Rob also has some investment properties up in the Peterborough area. And I literally just had a template. They had a template and I just copied it. I bought my first student rental. I bought 5 doors down from my buddy Scott. And I literally I took his realtor. I took like banking for I just literally did what he did. And I think that's a great story that people listening can do, is just find someone who's already doing it and copy. You don't have to recreate the wheel.
That's resonating with me really hard right now, because I've been of late been really looking into just the fact of people who follow proven models and just kind of submit to what the model has already worked. A lot of people, especially like entrepreneurial type people, tend to be, I think they tend to give themselves a little too much benefit, that they're creative geniuses and that they have this great new strategy that's going to like revolutionize things. And I think the reality is that the easiest and fastest way forward is to follow a model, like you're saying, and copy someone, or copy mostly what they've done. And just, why would that, if it's proven and it's not a one-off and it's proven and it's multiple people have done that same model, I mean, why not start with that and then build upon your throw your creative flavor to it later on?
Well, that's it. And it's a starting point, right? And they say the first one's the hardest one. And it's so true, because you don't know what you don't know. And so if you're doing that copycat model right from the start, then you're going to get more creative as your investment journey goes on, because you are going to want some fresh ideas or some creative challenges. And really, this is being an investor, it is a challenge. Like we all like to sort of take a product, change it and make it your own. And I feel like that's what investing is you're taking sort of this raw house and you are changing its application into a cash flowing asset.
Yeah, and you guys have gotten really creative with some of your student rentals, which we'll talk about too. But I wanted to say one step further on what we were just saying there is mentorship can be very, very powerful, right? Like that's the accountability that's added on top of that, like is extremely powerful, because you're looking up to somebody who is doing what you want to do, and then they're saying, okay, I'm holding you accountable to take this step, right? So in my journey anyway, that's been a really, really helpful thing.
No, I agree, Rob. And being a teacher at heart and just trying to really, why am I doing what I'm doing? Like, it's like, why do I keep buying these properties and making my life more complicated when I already have a full-time job and 3 kids at home? And like, there's a lot going on, but I do feel an obligation to go down this path. So, and then I can share my journey with other people and invite them to come down this path as well, because I feel there's a lot of people out there who are grinding away. Job. Like, I'm very lucky. I have an amazing job. I'm a high school phys-ed teacher. I've kind of won the lottery when it comes to going to work. I get to play sports all day and teach students. It's awesome. But not everyone has that luxury. And if you can, if I can inspire some people who potentially do not like their job as much, and they can find a way to supplement their income or change their life, and that gives a lot of gratitude towards. I really feel good about that. And I'm only 3 years in, so I still have lots to learn, but it's a slow journey and just sort of grinding away at it.
And it's not always about replacing 9 to 5 either. Like, you really enjoy what you're doing. So it's more about, the actual lifestyle outside of work.
Yeah, by doing what I'm doing, I'm going to be able to travel. I'm going to be able to. We're taking a little bit of time off in a couple of years. I'm doing a deferred salary right now with my teaching job, where you can do what's called a 4/5, where you work you work for 4 years at a reduced salary, and then you get a year off. And the idea is to come visit you in Costa Rica, Rob, during that year off, to do various things. And without sort of the supplemental income coming in from the real estate, those sort of life experiences might be harder to do when you're just relying on that one source of income.
So even when you are copying, quote unquote, what other people have done and starting out and doing exactly what they've done, there must be some challenges that were still there despite all of that. Let's talk about some of the bigger ones that you ran into and how you got around them.
Yeah, the first thing, I guess, is just to get your partner on board. My wife was certainly a little reluctant at the start because, here we are with a young family, and she's like, you want to buy a rental property and you want to do this and that. And that's definitely a huge obstacle that I'm sure a lot of people face, because we are very much programmed from our parents and from our families on how money works. And a lot of people, leveraging is very, very scary for a lot of people. So, borrowing money in order to buy these assets just isn't programmed into some people. A lot of people are savers. If you don't have the money, you don't spend the money. So, and real estate, we leverage a lot. So that was a real challenge, is just trying to get various people comfortable with what our vision was.
And how do you do that?
Yeah,
I'm sure there's people listening that have the exact same issue, and it's not like winning. It's more like learning together.
It is, and it's so through my podcasting, through my reading, through my networking, through my connections, I gained a lot of confidence in what I was doing, and I felt very confident. And I feel like once I was able to communicate that confidence to my partner, to my family members, they could really feel that I sort of knew what I was doing. And obviously I had role models, and I would share what my role models were also saying with my partner and my family members, and that really was key. If I wasn't demonstrating and doing the actual homework prior to making these purchases, like if I was just doing it on a whim and didn't create this sort of power team and this knowledge, then that would be certainly problematic. But my partner definitely felt that I was doing the right homework in order to take that next step.
It's not that much different from raising money or getting an investor to partner with you type thing. Similar, you need to show confidence and credibility, whether that's yourself or through your network and power team. Borrowing credibility, or you said borrowing confidence. Both those can play a big factor there, I think, right? And we've had a lot of guests. We've had some couples on the show in the past where this has been a great topic, where it's because most couples are kind of different, complementary in a lot of ways. That's usually not always, but often that's part of what makes them a great couple. And that generally means one person's maybe a little more risk averse than the other, or they're, different mindsets, right? So it can certainly see the challenges of that. And I don't think we can talk forever on that. We could build there's shows around that. That's a whole relationship advice type show. But I'm sure there's tons of people that
new
resonate
podcast,
with that.
Sandy.
Yeah. I'm
What
sure
I would
people resonate with that. I for one probably was more the one that got dragged into it when we were starting. Kate, my wife, and I was probably your wife in this case versus you, which anyone can get excited and learn enough that they get confident, and who knows where it takes you.
I think the most important thing is you really have to start taking an inner journey as far as becoming well-read when it comes to sort of your psychological makeup and your relationship with fear and money. It really plays a major role when it comes to investing. It's like, okay, what's the worst that can happen? And if this is the worst that can happen, I need to have that mindset where I'm going to overcome whatever comes my way. And so it's really making sure that you sort of take those steps to make sure you have all your building blocks in place and you're starting your foundation properly.
Right. I think it's important to not just say, you talk to Scott one day, he says, I got rental properties. And then 5 minutes later, you go to your wife and say, guess what we're doing?
Yeah.
It's important to what I found. And, my wife and I have had lots of conversations on this, is how did we end up here? right? And like, how did we, let's go back and learn a little bit from where we came from. And one of the big things was, because I've tried all kinds of things before I found real estate. I just knew I wasn't in the right spot, right? I was just trying to figure out where I was supposed to be. And and when it came to doing some real estate investing, I was like, well, what got you on board with that? And she always said, because you could answer some of my questions, where everything else you wanted to do, you were just, it was just a whim, right? And you had no knowledge on it. This, yeah, I could tell you were learning, you were excited, you were figuring things out, you were talking to people, right? So that, I think, is a big part of it.
What's the worst that can happen in real estate is not all that bad, really, either, especially in Canadian real estate, right? Like,
people tend to think that it's a lot worse things can happen. I mean, I don't know. I mean, realistically, I guess the chances of something, your chances are pretty good of things going okay. I think, especially if you are paying attention and talking to other people who have done the same thing.
I think you're being very intentional in what you're investing in, and that's something we've really focused on in our investment journey. Is you really put the odds in your favor. So you're buying good properties, you're attracting great tenants, you're making sure that you're providing great property management. So you're really being intentional along the way. I think you're going to have great success. I think you probably can get yourself in a little bit of trouble when you're trying to maybe buy neighborhoods that can be a little bit rough, and you're just not giving it the attention that it always deserves.
Do you have challenges with the management or the tenants and finding tenants and placing them? Did I have any challenges in that side of things for you?
Yeah,
we're really asking, especially too, because I know you dabble in student rentals, and those are always typically a little more work than a straight rental.
Honestly, we've had really good success. But again, we've been very, very intentional. So when we buy, we like to buy in between sort of, we're looking June, July, August, September for a student rental. We're looking to purchase then. And then what we're doing is we begin the reno right away in, say, August, September. And we're actually looking to rent from May 1st. So we are actually, and we're doing the renos, let's say October through March. So we're actually carrying the property ourselves for sort of 6 months there. But what we're doing is we're actually, in November, we start to list the property, and we actually do tours with the students coming through. And what we've found is the very best students are the ones in the fall who are looking for May. So we've been very, very lucky where we feel like we have the best students. We feel like we have a really great product up in Peterborough. We're buying really nice homes. And so far it's been a great success. Even through COVID, that was our sort of getting our feet wet in the rental, and that was right through COVID. We lost a couple students who said they needed to change things up, but we were able to replace those very, very quick in the house.
Yeah, that didn't hit with me when you said you started in 2019. Interesting time to start, because within your first year, stuff went crazy, right? So how did you keep going through that? Did you ever think and go, this is the worst thing that can happen, and this is not good for us?
It's funny. I was talking to my buddy Scott, and we kind of went. We said we've kind of planned for everything except a pandemic. We weren't expecting that one. So, but here's the thing. I think students they want to live in their student houses. Like, they really want to be around other students. So even in the lockdowns, even when things were going sideways, they still were going to school virtually, and they wanted to be in that house. That's where their friends are. And they were still getting a little bit of the university experience. So we kept on going through that in our head. And we were actually communicating with our students saying, hey, how are you feeling about this? Do you see yourself needing a change? Are you going to move back home? And they were communicating and saying, no, we really want to be at the house. So it worked out really well.
Awesome. So let's talk about the types of properties that you buy. So you touched a bit on it. You guys really focus on nicer houses. And are all of your places student rentals?
No, so right now in the portfolio, we're still small, but we are growing. So we have 2 8-bedroom student rentals up in Peterborough. And we did a duplex conversion in a town called Millbrook, which is just south of Peterborough. So we have 3 properties right now. What we really focus on is buying sort of nicer homes, nice neighborhoods, and they're bigger homes. So like both of our student rentals are bungalows, 5 bedrooms upstairs, 3 bedrooms downstairs, 3 full baths in the house. And they're in really nice neighborhoods. What we think about is if ever we need our exit strategy, we feel if we spend more money up front with appreciation and time in market, if we want to turn around and turn these into single family homes again, we're going to get a really good buck selling it in the future. So that's kind of our long-term vision on what we're doing.
And one of the things I want to mention is, because people listening to this might not know, because it's very sort of unique to Peterborough, the licensing process, because those student rentals are 100% legal, and you've got a business license to run them, right? And you go through a process with the city to bring them to where they want them in order to have the 8 bedrooms in them, right? And rent them out to students. Is a fantastic model that they have allowed there.
If for me, I'm very, very comfortable with that. Being a teacher, having a young family, I wanted to do things very much on the straight and narrow up front. So the city of Peterborough is fantastic to work with. So they actually have the fire inspectors come in, they're checking smoke alarms, egress windows. So they're signing off on my property saying, hey, this is safe, this is good to go. And when I communicate with parents, I'm saying, hey, this has been an inspected property. We have a license to do this. And this in turn allows us, because we have this sort of confidence that we're instilling, this allows us to get really, really premium rents because we're licensed and we have the best product. So we see Peterborough as just a great spot to do this.
So when you first go and you're looking for something that you want to turn into like an 8-bedroom home, it's obviously not an 8-bedroom home when you find it. How do you evaluate the type of property that you want to buy?
Yeah, so the first one we bought was actually it was a bungalow, 2 bedrooms upstairs and 2 bedrooms downstairs, and you can just kind of walk through the space and you can kind of visualize, or where could I put bedrooms? So in that one, it had a dining room. So we put a wall through. We separated the dining room off and created another bedroom. There was a common space, a huge common space in the basement. So we took half that common space and we created another bedroom there. And then there was a massive living room. So we made the living room a little bit smaller. So we put another bedroom there. And then, Rob, I'm sure you remember what we did. We got very creative with that first student rental. There was a massive cavity in the ceiling of the garage. And we actually started brainstorming, could we fit another bedroom in the ceiling of the garage? Because it was an 18-foot ceiling in the garage. So we actually did it. We got an engineered beam. We ran it right across the garage. The garage still has about 8 feet of headroom, but we were able to put a massive bedroom in the ceiling of the garage. And that's been fantastic to create the 8-bedroom. So that actually, it took us 2 years to pay off the construction costs for that sort of addition or bedroom. So we're now cash flowing clean on that addition.
Yeah, that was really cool. I remember seeing that, and it's not even the whole garage, because it's still like half of the garage is still 18 feet high.
Yeah, that's
it's
right.
Just the back side of it that's a little lower, and it really doesn't impact it that much. Very, very cool idea. I thought that was when you guys had that.
Yeah, and then the next student rental, the same thing. We just there had been a stale last August. There had been a really stale listing that we decided to throw an offer in on a sort of a big bungalow. And again, we did the same thing. We walked through the house and we said, okay, massive dining room. We can put 2 rooms in there. Massive common space in the basement. Let's put 2 rooms down there. And it's worked out fantastic. Each one of our houses has common space on the upper floor and lower floor, kitchen upstairs, kitchenettes. You're not allowed another stove in the basements, but both of our places have kitchenettes in the basement where they can do coffee, sort of simple breakfast, etc. So we're very intentional and want to make the experience the best for the students living there.
Yeah, and the other thing too to mention is it's very important that it doesn't look like just a chopped up series of jail cells where, you know, you walk in and the parents are like, oh my gosh, like what have they done here? That's not what you're doing. Like,
no. No, again, I believe we're selling, you're selling this product to the parents. The parents are the ones, and I make phone conversations to each one of the parents, and when they're actually inquiring about renting the property, and I'm talking it through with them. They're the ones, for the most part, are signing the checks. They want their son, daughter to be living in a fantastic sort of environment. So it's definitely, it doesn't have that. It very much has a family home feel, and that's what we want to provide.
I heard you say that there was a stale listing. This is 2021, fall of 2021.
This was last August.
Yeah, so August 2021, there was a stale listing in a pretty hot market. I think that, and just hearing you talk about that deal, it reminded me that you know, even regardless of the market, there's deals out there, and sometimes it just takes a little bit of creativity to either make the deal happen or just to find the opportunities in the deals. Because if that was a stale listing and it was sitting around for a bit, you know, there's a lot of people that looked at it and said, not for me, not for me, not for me.
Mm-hmm. And I think
it doesn't mean it's not a good deal. I mean, there's lots of opportunities out there that I've seen too, where it's like you just take the right set of eyes or the right the right creative mindset to go through there and find and make the deal a great deal versus just sitting around and waiting for them to come up.
This property that we bought, it was an expensive property. Like, they were asking, we can go over numbers. Originally they were asking $829 for this property, and it was stale because no one was going to pay $829. The way the kitchen was configured in this particular house, no one was going to pay $829 for a type of kitchen like that. But we were saying, oh, this is fantastic for students. So we started the bidding in $750, and we were able to scoop it up for $775. And we obviously, the rates were fantastic back a year ago. So we were able to lock in a great interest rate, and the property is cash flowing nicely now.
Cool. Very, very good. So, I mean, again, like we're trying to prepare people for what can happen, right? Like, so again, it's not all been good. There was challenges that you talked about, but sort of, let's talk about the worst situation that you've had, because we want to draw these out to people. We want to understand that there are bad things that can happen, and you just overcome them, right? You find a way to get around it.
Yeah, I think they're the typical everything costs more than what you imagine. So, you know, you definitely, when it comes to the renovation, one thing we did run into is our renovation costs on that the second property being, what was it, August, September, October, November of 2021, though we didn't expect our reno to cost what it did. Materials were up, labor was up, so everything was inflated. So certainly you need to budget a lot more. It did end up costing the renovation a lot more than what we had anticipated. Mm-hmm. And what we made sure that we also did was there's small little details that we wanted to do to be proactive on the house. So we spent some money. So, for example, it has an old air conditioning unit. So, and the lines for the air conditioning unit were not to code. So while they were drywalling, we bit the bullet, and we actually, we put brand new lines for the AC unit, because once the students moved in, we didn't want to do any drywall work once they had been in order to replace the AC. So we actually spent more money preparing the place for future sort of things that might happen. So I would definitely, like, if we're going through this, you have your budget and then add 10-20% onto that for renovations. So that's certainly one of them.
Yeah, that's good too.
Another thing, you know, for the most part, everyone, all the students and the parents have been great. But when you are charging, like, we're charging upwards of $725 for some of our rooms, there's an expectation from parents and from some of the students that the house is certainly, you know, it's in order, it's in complete working condition. So you do have to answer some extra some extra emails and some extra phone calls, and just kind of making sure everyone is happy. So you are putting fires out in that respect a little bit.
That's interesting too, just to point out the fact that, like, when we were in Peterborough, I would say like 5 years ago, and we were looking at 3-4 years ago even, and we we're looking at multi-units, sometimes looking at like triplexes, and literally each unit would be like $775. That'd be the rent for each unit in the triplex in Peterborough at the time. So it's interesting that you can take some, like a really nice family home, add those bedrooms, and get like $700 a room.
Yeah, and I think again, you're providing an incredible product. Some of these, some of the rooms have an ensuite to them. They have walk-in closets. Like we're taking these really nice homes that have sort of built-ins in them. So the students are really getting sort of what they expect from their own homes, and they're actually getting that in the university town. So we've just find a way to sort of given them that experience. And we do need to charge those rents in order to buy these nicer homes. Mm-hmm. So it definitely, so far, it's been successful, and it's working out.
So let's talk about where where things are going for the future. What you talked about the future a little bit there. You were kind of renovating for the future, and obviously you have a longer term outlook on a lot of these than some people might. What else are you working on? Where else do you see your business going around?
Yeah, this? Like it's funny. You certainly, I think, Sandy, I resonate with you because you say that you're pivoting a little bit, and you kind of, I feel like we reach plateaus and we're like, okay, we need to see where we're going next. And I give a lot of thought to that. So do we keep continuing with what we're doing? Do we keep maybe pivot and try something else? I think I would like to try the one property per year and keep stacking a few of these. Like we have a really good thing going, and if we can sort of keep adding one property a year, and I say I'm actually investing with my my great buddy Ryan and my brother Jeff. So we've created this little power team that we have, and it's worked out really, really well. We each have a different skill set. I'm kind of the people guy. We have my brother, who's definitely the real handy person, and then Ryan's really great with municipalities and kind of connecting with people in that respect. So that's a little sort of side tidbit is if you were looking to get into this, maybe think about who might complement your skill set, join forces with them to get in, and that might be a great way to gain some confidence to do that. So circling back, what am I doing? Yeah, so I think I'd like to continue to scale the real estate. One of my real goals is to, not that I really enjoy my job, and I'm going to continue to definitely do it, but I've challenged myself to replace my salary with passive income through real estate or through other means of cash flow. So I'm looking to do that by 2024 when I have my year off. So I believe if I can continue stacking these properties, continue with my infinite banking, that we should definitely talk about a little bit here. I think I might be able to accomplish that. So that's sort of what the future holds in that respect.
Let's talk about the infinite banking. Has that played a role yet in your purchase of properties? Yeah,
for sure. It has played a role. I've been able to, so what the infinite banking concept is I'm taking mutually owned, dividend paying whole life insurance policies, and I am funding these policies, and there are multiple policies. I have multiple throughout my family system. And what's cool about these policies is as you fund them, they are creating what they call cash value. And what is fantastic is I'm able to take a collateralized loan against my policy, and the insurance company will give me money against my policies. So I can take, so what's great about these policies is they're compounding uninterrupted interest for the rest of my life on these policies. So I'm able to put cash into sort of, we'll call it a master bank, or my master bank, which I'm calling it. I'm able to put money into these policies that will compound forever, but I'm able to borrow against the value of them. So to me, it's fantastic. I'm actually receiving dividends on these policies. I can borrow money in order to fund renovations for my real estate. So I actually took policy loans to fund renovations for my last rental, which was incredible. And in turn, what's happening now is I'm able to run the rents through my infinite banking. So as money comes in for rents, I can put those into premiums paid, or I can also put that towards policy loan repayments. And so because I have a fairly substantial flow of money, and that's the real thing for your listeners that is the key. It's money in, money out. So real estate investors, something we forget about is the flow of money. We have a lot of money coming in our direction. I'm able to do something with it before I have to send it out to mortgage payments, taxes, everything. So I'm able to collect the dividend or the power of that money before it exits my system. It's a little bit of a complicated system. I would really recommend the book Becoming Your Own Banker by Nelson Nash. And I'm also happy to, if anyone wants to reach out to me, and I'll give my sort of information, but I'm happy to just be sort of someone to chat with about this system and how I'm implementing it.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. It's almost, and you're just chatting with it. Like you're not you're not a broker. You're not making any money off it. It's just worked well for you.
Yeah. And what I've found is like, I am connected with, I'm not connected with anybody, but one of, Peter Lount, I believe Peter is a friend of the show.
Yeah.
He's my coach through all of this. So he is an actual advisor. But I find a lot of people like to reach out to me because I have no affiliation with anybody. I'm just someone who's actually doing this. So I can just really give my perspective on how I'm implementing this system.
Yeah, really cool.
Awesome.
And so I guess let's talk about how powerful it's been then. Can you quantify that?
So this is not a get rich quick scheme. This is a slow and steady build. So let's use an example of a $10,000 annual premium policy. So for example, let's say I have I can just give you an example. I just paid a $15,000 policy in July. So, and this was my year 2 of that policy. So as the money goes in, so I had $15,000 in there. Right away, I would have a cash value available for loan. I could borrow back $8,000 of that. So now I have the $15,000 in there making a dividend, and I can borrow back money in order to quickly, let's say, pay renovation. And then now as the money comes back through the student rental, I can replace that money that I borrowed, and in a sense, creating a family bank. So circling back, how do I quantify how it's doing? I have policies that are coming up into year 4, which is fantastic. I really feel that by about year 5 or 6, I'm going to be able to borrow a substantial amount of money in order to deploy, and then in order to create investment opportunities for the money to replenish those accounts plus some. So I would say this is like, if you were to scale this out and really have a vision, like a 5 to 10 year plan for implementing something like this, I would say is realistic. And I've been incredible how quickly the 4 years has gone, and it's about taking action now. So, I feel real estate is sort of it's a slow and steady build over a lifetime, and you're gonna be very happy at the end. And I feel that this is just another complementary tool in the tool chest for that.
It marries well with real estate. That definitely.
Yeah.
Because there's a flow of money, right? There's just it really, really does.
It's like a old school Smith maneuver on speed or something.
A lot of people have sort of made that connection, but if you really look at it, it's very much like real estate. And here's the analogy: I can buy a house, and as the value of that house goes up, I can take a HELOC off that house, and then I can take that money and I can reinvest that.
Right.
Well, the same thing with these policies. I can buy a policy, and this policy is going to increase in value forever because that's the way it's designed. And as it increases value, I can take a collateralized loan and then I can go and do more investments with it. So really they're very, very similar in what they are. They're just different in the actual product.
Yeah.
It's the only investment out there that I found that is really mirroring real estate. It's very similar to real estate in the same ways you just said, and that's why I love it too. It just makes so much sense. And I mean, most people might as well get life insurance anyways. It's the actual just life insurance fact of it is valuable in my opinion, and add on the other benefits are just cherries on top.
It's incredible. I think everyone needs that, and especially as we have some, we have liabilities that might need to be taken care of in a case of something awful happening. It's definitely gives you peace of mind in that respect. And again, it's different. Like you need to educate yourself on this. You need to reach out to people that are doing it. But one big thing, and Rob, you've always you've said this, is be an action taker. Like you just need to, if you hear about something and you're curious about it, don't just discard it. And move on, like investigate it, see what's going on, maybe dabble, like talk to people, podcast, read some books, and then make an informed decision on that. Because there definitely is some bad stigma when it comes to life insurances policies, and they're all very, very different in how they're designed and who sells them.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about, since you just mentioned, resources that people should tap into. Which ones can you recommend? Let's talk about for new investors. What would you say people should be looking into? You mentioned the book by Nelson Nash. What else?
Yeah, I guess talking about across the whole investment gamut, you have to read Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. That's like, you have to read that book. It's all about mindset and sort of where you're going. Who Not How, Dan Sullivan's book. It's a fantastic book. So it's like who is out there to help you achieve what you want. So Rob, you were a who for me. Like you were the guy. I needed a real estate agent who I could rely on. So I sort of outsourced that to you. And you would have different who's throughout. Like Rob, I'm sure, and Sandy, you guys both figure out who might be your who's that have helped you scale and grow. So that's a really, really good book. I would definitely recommend. Another one by Dan Sullivan is called Gap and Gain. So it's about measuring your successes. So we often, it's what have we achieved? Like we all have goals, and sometimes we're too hard on ourselves because we don't measure what we've accomplished. We only measure the goal, and we can kind of get defeated, or we can be hard on ourselves if we haven't achieved what we set out to do. So those are sort of some books there. Obviously, Rich Dad Poor Dad is a game changer for so many people. Cashflow Quadrant by Robert Kiyosaki also is another great one. It's just how you're making your money and where that's coming from. You're chuckling, Rob. Must be something up with that.
No, I'm just like, these are all fantastic books. There's so many of them.
Yeah,
it sounds like being learning based is probably a benefit to anything, but to real estate for sure. And I love those books too. Think and Grow Rich, I think, is you really said everyone must read that. Honestly, that's like the foundational book before even investments. It's just the mindset behind it all, and like I think that's like the starting point for most people. If they haven't read that, even if they think they're beyond that, I think it's a great foundational to really put your mindset in the right place.
If you want a super quick read that's very similar in its foundations, I guess, as that, there's The Science of Getting Rich too. It's like you can burn through that book in a day, and it basically covers all the ideas, but it's a real quick read. I think it's even older actually than Think and Grow Rich. Yeah. And
it's a very simple concept. It's what you focus on will expand, and where your energy goes. And if you can, if you just have these ideas, and I want to build I want to buy a house, and like you literally start focusing on that, and you're going to, whatever you focus on, you're going to eventually run towards it and try and achieve that. And it's a very simple concept that a lot of people just don't understand. So it's like, when you read that, a real light bulb goes off when you read that book.
You mentioned So lastly, let's stay on this, and we'll talk about, in those different things, or maybe from somewhere else, what's a piece of info or advice that's always stuck with you, and how has it helped you?
Piece of advice. I listen to a podcast called Quote of the Day by Sean Croxton, and his biggest saying is, little by little, a little becomes a lot. So little by little, a little becomes a lot. So my whole thing is every day I think to myself, what am I doing today that's going to be a little bit to help for tomorrow? And then those little things stack upon each other. So, every day I want to be doing something a little bit in order to improve. And that could even be like reading 30 pages of a book. That could be listening to your podcast. That could be trying to tighten up that could be calling one of the service providers for internet up at my rentals to try and get a better rate. That could be going on Realtor or looking at properties. So it really is, what am I doing every single day that's going to compound in order to sort of make my life better? And that it could be exercise, relationships. You need to take action every single day. So just sort of leaving with the listeners, that's something I really feel passionate about. Little by little, a little becomes a lot. I think it's awesome.
Love that one too. It's the same as your investment model of kind of going, taking it a little slow. Right? It's little by little, it becomes a lot. You said it's a long ways out. I mean, 5 to 10 years it goes by pretty fast. I think when you have that longer term outlook, a little by little becomes a lot pretty fast.
Yeah, I love this. And you know what? Some of my favorite podcasts that we've done are more just the ideology behind it all, right? And I think that's a super important thing. Because the biggest roadblock for a lot of people is not that they don't understand the action steps to get there. It's more the belief in what they're doing, right? That can really block people. There's tons of people that know every step of what to do, and they still aren't doing it.
Yeah. And I think something that's really becoming clear in the last little while is just how amazing the investment community is. Like, there's so many people out there who are willing to share, willing to help, or willing to talk, or willing to get together. And that was kind of one of my things with Cashflow Crew. It's just creating a platform where people can come together, share, grow, learn, and just be around like-minded individuals. So it's what a great community, because everyone's pulling and pushing in the same direction. And I think the idea of abundance is very important. There's enough for all of us if we all work together and everything. So having a scarcity mindset versus an abundance mindset is like having an abundance mindset versus a scarcity mindset is very, very important for all of us.
Yeah, agreed. And so how can people join your webinars?
Yeah, please come. Like, we're very inclusive. We want anyone who wants to join up. Email me at dan@cashflowcrew.ca. Maybe it can be put in the show notes there as well. I'm also jumping on Instagram, and I'm trying to be a bit more not influential, but I'm really trying to put out content where I'm helping to improve people's lives. So whether that's exercise, whether that's relationships, whether that's raising kids, whether that's investing, just trying to sort of be a role model and a figure in that sense. So that's at Instagram at Dan McMullen Lifestyles on Instagram. Check me out on that.
Dan McMullen Lifestyles. Yeah, we'll have all this stuff in the show notes, guys, for you to go ahead and reach out to Dan and join that webinar that he has. I think, I had fun. And like I said, I really liked the crew of people that you had on there.
Yeah, it's a really good bunch, and it's just about learning and sharing, and it's a really great hangout. So I welcome anyone that wants to jump on. Thanks, Rob.
Yeah, and it's been a real pleasure, getting to know over the past few years, getting to know you and your brother, who I helped actually buy a house right next to my old place, so we were neighbors for a little while. And that was fun. And Ryan too, getting to know you guys has been a pleasure.
Yeah, thanks. I really appreciate that. It's kind words. Yeah, our paths have certainly crossed many, many times. And I really appreciate that. Thank you.
So thanks again for sharing all this, man. We had a great time.
Awesome. Long-time listener of the show. It's really, really cool to be on with you, Sandy, and Rob. I really appreciate it.
Well, I think I love these shows where we have great stories. Obviously, at this point, we've been doing this 8+ years. There's a few more people out there like you. If someone's listening to this and they've got a great story to share, I mean, reach out to us. We'd love to have more guests like you, not just to toot our own horns, but it's a great story.
It doesn't hurt though, does it?
It doesn't hurt, if I'm honest. Yeah. But you got a great story there, and you've built up some great stuff. So congrats, and way to take action.
Yeah, thanks very much.
No, and I mean, I don't care about our horns being tooted. The fact is that we started this really so that we could learn, but also, I mean, it has become a tool that has worked well for our businesses. But Sandy, when you and I started this, it was more just to talk and help people.
Yeah,
we weren't realtors. We were just wanting to learn, right? Wanting to get on and talk to people and explore all the different pitfalls and ups that you can experience through this.
It was pretty in line with the little by little becomes a lot. It was just kind of doing it little by little, and then it became a lot all of a sudden.
Well, I'm certainly glad we didn't wait for, what do they say? Done is better than perfect, because we were far from perfect.
Right.
Anyone going back, maybe, I don't know. It took us a while to find a groove, I think.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But it's been fun. Okay, Dan, thanks a lot, man. Thanks for taking the time to talk to us today. Sandy, how can people reach out to you?
Sandy at freedomreps.com, or connect with me on Instagram or Facebook as well.
And people can reach me at rob@mrbreakthrough.ca. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time.